Yeah, so I'm going to hang out and chat with you guys and talk about some of this stuff for a second. Then we'll talk about Magical Mystery Tour if you're all right with it. Nowhere Man to 11. Can you check out my channel? I'm going to start uploading more. Have 4 or 5 videos. Great. I love seeing the Beatles community here on YouTube be pretty vibrant. Sergeant Pepper's channel has like 10,000 subscribers. It's a huge deal. That's awesome. He just posted something on the Beatles cartoons recently, so go check him out. For me personally, I am getting more inspiration for what I'm trying to do, and I mentioned this in a previous live chat, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it, you know, no biggie. But I take a lot of inspiration from guys like The Nerd Writer, and Vox does a bunch of videos that I'm really into, that style, that presentation. It may not always be my favorite content, so for instance, if the Nerd Writer guy is doing a lot of Game of Thrones stuff, well, that's not my cup of tea, but I really appreciate the storytelling and his point of view and the editing and all that fun stuff. So I'm trying to apply that to what I love, to what I'm passionate about, and that would be the Beatles, obviously. Wallace Sam, hey, good to see you again. Been a Beatles fan since '64. Sullivan, Hard Day's Night. Oh yeah, that's some good stuff. Hey, you're 11? You're 11? Oh, that's so cool that you're doing this stuff and that you're into the Beatles that much. That's fantastic. What's your favorite album? This is cool, guys. I'm glad you guys are all here. It looks like we're up to 30 here in the chat room now. If you hit that like button, and I know that's something cheesy that a bunch of YouTubers say, but the reason that they say this is because that means that then goes into more people's feeds. As they're checking YouTube, it might pop up. If they're just watching another Beatles video right now, it might actually pop up, hey, here's a guy doing a live chat and a live celebration of Magical Mystery Tour, 50th anniversary. When you like a video, and this goes for any video, not just this live chat, but when you like a video, it indicates to YouTube, oh, we should share this with other people. So anyway, just a heads up to you guys on that. So if you hit that, that'll spread the love a little bit. Yeah. Beatles bootlegs. Fun fact, Magical Mystery Tour Deluxe was released in 2012. It had the remastered movie and had outtakes and the remastered album. Apple Corps released it. Yeah. Let's see. Excuse me for a second. Let's see if I can find it. What'd you say, 2012? So here it is in my bookshelf. This is the box set that they came out with. And it's not what we're talking about tonight necessarily, because this was more about the movie. It's actually been a while since I've dug into this. Anybody else have this? I don't even know what that is. What is it? Some cheesy little ticket. But this box set, when I bought it, it was DVD only. Oh, there you go. It's almost got like a little magnetic closure there on it. Check this out. It was DVD only. I've since gotten a Blu-ray, but I believe that this box set is just the DVD. If I've got that right. I might be thinking of the Help box set. But yeah. So this right here, this is the little tag from the shrink wrap. The Beatles Magical Mystery Tour Deluxe Collector's Edition restored film with remastered audio in 5.1 and stereo on DVD and Blu-ray. So forgive me, I was wrong. This actually is the Blu-ray box set. I was thinking of Help, which I got the nice, beautiful Help box set and all that, and it came with just the DVD, which was totally fine. A few years later, of course, they come out with the Blu-ray. That's Apple for you. So yeah, we're not necessarily celebrating the movie, right? Tonight. I mean, we are, because Magical Mystery Tour is fantastic, as cheesy and as weird as it kind of is. Cheesy is not the right word. Artsy, light, all that fun stuff. You guys have probably seen the Beatles anthology, where Paul and everybody talks about the beginnings and where that came from, weird stuff. But anyway, if you haven't seen Magical Mystery Tour, go watch the movie. And that's probably a good segue. We'll talk about the vinyl here in a sec. This light is blowing out. What's going on? Let me turn that off. Is that any better? Oh, yeah. All right. What's going on? Silvertone. Are we excited about the Christmas box set? So I've had the downloads of those for years. Actually, the first thing that I heard from the Christmas records was the Christmas Time Is Here Again, 1967. It was released as a bonus track on, help me out here guys, was it the Free as a Bird single or maybe the Real Love single? So when the Beatles Anthology project came out, especially for you younger folks, they came out with Anthology 1, 2, and 3, and they were both 2-disc sets, right? So we ended up with the 6 CDs. But of course, Free as a Bird and Real Love were issued around that same time, that same era. And both of those had CD singles that were released with them as well. And so Free as a Bird came on the CD single, but also, what did they call them, maxi singles? That's such a 90s thing. Confirmed. Thanks, Beetle Brad. Free as a Bird. It's such a 90s thing, a maxi CD single. It was really like an EP, so it had Free as a Bird and 3 tracks on it. Real Love did the same thing, Real Love, and then 3 other tracks. And what was great about this, especially for you completists out there, make sure you go grab that if you haven't already. Pick it up on eBay or Amazon. I don't know that it's still in print, but it included stuff that didn't appear on the anthology. So the only place to get an official release, aside from the fan stuff, the Christmas Club stuff, an official release of Christmas Time Is Here Again, was actually on that CD single. So it was kind of weird, kind of an obtuse way of them doing it, but obviously drove up, I guess, the collectability. Yeah, 4-song CDs. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Which, funny enough, so now we're seeing the release of this with the Christmas box set, which, funny enough, is released only on vinyl. So I've got the digital copies, which you can find if you dig deep enough. And that's, honestly, that's good enough for me. I enjoy my Beatles collection. I'm not a hardcore completist when it comes to every single thing that Apple puts out. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the Magical Mystery Tour box set, the Help box set. But for considering this new Christmas box set is just on vinyl, it's a little bit too much. Like, for me personally, that's just going to be something that sits on the shelf and collects dust. It's nice to have it. And if you get it, I hope you enjoy it and I hope you listen to it. But for me personally, I just wouldn't get that much enjoyment out of it. Regardless, though, I am happy to see that it's getting an official release. And knowing Apple and the way that they do things, I really wouldn't be surprised if maybe next Christmas or the Christmas after that, or here at some point, we do see all of those released, maybe as a special digital download kind of thing from iTunes, if it doesn't just end up on the streaming services straight up. Nowhere Man 211's got to go. Bye. Henry the Horse, Let It Be on Blu-ray. Man, you're singing my song. Totally agree. Yeah, you're not buying the upcoming box set. Not in high price. Absolutely. It is expensive. Mike Stewart, enjoy your channel and love the chat. Beatles anytime. Played on Tommy Rowe sessions. Dizzy. Yeah, I know Tommy Rowe, who warmed up the Beatles in '63. I got stories about the Beatles Atlanta connection. Mike, there's an article, and I can't remember where it's from, but I came across it. I'm kind of a live sound guy, or I used to be. I toured with a guy. We went and did arena shows and all this stuff, so I learned about live sound reinforcement. And that plus the Beatles connection, I've always been curious about how the Beatles did live sound. And so going back to the anthology stuff, remember when Paul talks about the Shea show, how they didn't have like a proper PA for the whole place. They just ended up routing the band and probably just the vocals through the baseball announcing PA. So, the little bullhorn speakers that you'd be able to hear say, okay, the next batter is so-and-so. But that's what the Beatles mics would have come out of for that show, which is horrible. I mean, I'm sure Shea is an amazing show. 65. Go watch the film. Fantastic quality of the film. The sound is even good for stuff. But live, it couldn't have been that great of an experience, especially with the girls screaming. But Mike, you're talking, they did that in the Atlanta concert. So let's see, what year again was that, Mike? The Atlanta show? Anyway, where I'm going with this is, there is a fantastic article somewhere out there, it may have even been on the website for the Atlanta newspaper, where they detailed how the Atlanta show, I'm wanting to say 65, the amps and column PAs, I'm wanting to say it was 65, where that was like the first professional sound rig for like a giant show, baseball, stadium, arena, that kind of thing. It really hadn't been done. But of course the Beatles could draw the fans, so at some point, and it was a local Atlanta guy who said, hey, we're really going to reinforce it. Baker Audio, 1965. Oh yeah. So if you haven't read that article and you're into live sound, or you're into kind of the Beatles being associated with groundbreaking technology as they were, you know, in this situation. All You Need Is Love, the satellite thing that was going on, that was a huge deal. If you're into that, go check out that article. And probably just go Google Beatles Atlanta live sound. Might want to put Baker Audio in there. Mike says he's got the recording. Yeah. So good segue. Damien said, did Magical Mystery Tour have a stereo version? My copy is in mono. So if we're talking about the original releases, I'll let you guys hash that out in the chat. I'm actually going to move on and show you my original copy. I got this in probably around, let's see, let me tap to focus right there. Got this around 97. What's it say, 16 bucks, original black label. And my parents would have gotten this for me. So 20 years ago, may have been Christmas of 98. But this is something that I've listened to at least a handful of times. I'm all about kind of preserving it, especially if I can listen to what is honestly a better quality copy, either on new vinyl or the remasters or the digital stuff. But yeah, that is, this is an original 67 pressing. From what I understand, they came out with another pressing in 68 or 69. But yeah, Henry the Horse, 50 years old. So we're not gonna really talk about the movie that much, just because I feel like that's been covered quite a bit, and it's not really the anniversary of the movie tonight anyway. But it is the anniversary of this record in particular. Something that I've seen kind of floating around is everybody's like, "Happy birthday, Magical Mystery Tour." From what I understand, and I don't want to really get into picking nits, but it's really the 50th anniversary of the U.S. edition. So the way that it was released in England, so I guess the official canon release for that time anyway, well, it was released early December, so a little bit later. Somebody might want to shout the date out of when it came out. In England, it was actually released as a dual EP, which didn't happen a whole lot, and it was released with the movie tracks. So Magical Mystery Tour, Full on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, I'm the Walrus. So these 6 tracks, that's all it was. Is that right? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just want to make sure I'm counting this the right way. So they had the dual EP. In the States, what they decided to do was take this and marry it with the singles that had come out from 67. So sidebar, for me, when I was first starting to get into the Beatles in the mid-90s, I'm 35 now, so I'm kind of an anthology fan. I know there are fans that are younger than I am, fans that are older than I am, but that's my story. That's where I came up, because I would have been about 13, 14 years old with the anthology stuff. When I got my hands on this CD, and I'm talking about the 87 CD master that came out, which obviously pales in comparison to modern releases, whether through the digital or the mono or the stereo box set, but the 87 stuff, this was the standout record for me. Love Pepper, love the White Album. Abbey Road and Revolver are now my favorite 2 albums. Kind of as a more mature fan, I appreciate, you know, the sounds, the technology that went into those. Those are my personal top 2. But at the time, this album was it. And I think for me personally, again, Revolver and Abbey Road are just top notch because it's such an album concept. The albums, those 2 albums as a whole, they work really, really well together. This is a fantastic collection of songs, and it's really fun that it's got the Magical Mystery Tour stuff mixed with the 67 singles. So again, from the film, Magical Mystery Tour, Full on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, and Walrus. But then the American release added Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, and All You Need Is Love. Talk about a killer collection of songs. I mean, just that right there, just those tracks. Can you believe that the Beatles came out with all of those in one year in 1967? Obviously, those would have been released as singles, but what a fantastic collection to get for American fans in November of 67. So, funny enough, kind of a sidebar, when those 87 CDs came out, so when Apple said, hey, we're finally going to create a core collection of the Beatles albums, they said, of course, Please Please Me, With the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, they're going to be the British version. the British versions on all of those. So for instance, it's not going to be Meet the Beatles, the Americanized version with their funny collection. It's actually going to be With the Beatles, and it's going to be With the Beatles as the second album. So they carry that all the way through the entire catalog. Makes sense, right? Especially when things got to be standardized. With Pepper, it was both American and the British release. It was all the same. Even internationally, it was all the same. But when it came to Magical Mystery Tour, because it was so kind of funky, kind of discombobulated, the British version only had this, was the dual EP. So in '87, they said, well, what can we do to really standardize things? And they ended up deciding that this would be the master version that they would reference. So instead of it being the Magical Mystery Tour EP, now it's known as the Magical Mystery Tour album, as it was in the States. That was the only record that they did that with. And the reason for that is kind of twofold. First of all, it makes sense to just have another album instead of dropping an EP that is vital, that's essential listening, but instead of dropping that in the middle of the catalog, they were able to say, okay, here's another album, we can sell this for 12, 13 bucks, whatever it is. And they called this the core, as part of the core catalog. Another reason they did that, though, is if you go back, especially '87, and you look at Past Masters Volume 1 and Volume 2 and what they became, Past Masters Volume 2 is still one of my favorite collections of Beatles songs. Again, it probably, for me personally, goes back to that era, just being fantastic. But had they not done this for the core catalog starting in '87, then where would these songs have gone? They couldn't have fit on Past Masters Volume 2. So, for instance, Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane, we all know that they were kind of predecessors to Pepper. But then what happened after that? Well, they just kind of sat there out as singles. They weren't released at the time on an official album. So in America, when they came out with this, and then later on in '87, they said, oh, this is the way to do it. Anyway, I'm rambling on about that, but I'm kind of excited because I love Past Masters. I love '67. I like '66, '67 that's my favorite era of the band, personally. I mean, of course, I love it all and respect it all, but that's core for me. So anyway, I love the American version of Magical Mystery Tour, which explains why I wanted it so bad as a teenager. My parents got it for me. I'm going to check in here in the chat real quick. Beetle Brad, yeah, the German copy of Magical Mystery Tour is the only one in true stereo. So, Beetle Brad, elaborate on that for me if you can in the chat room. I've heard that. I can't recall the true stereo aspect. Was it a couple of songs? This wasn't one of those where they did the fake stereo, right? They do duophonic or whatever it is. Pat says, love the '67 era too. Favorite Beatles album is the Yellow Submarine song track, which is funny enough, kind of going back to the Hey Bulldog video again that I did here on my channel. The soundtrack was just... Side 1 is fantastic. Side 2, with it just being the score, again, just kind of this discombobulated thing that I guess made sense at the time, but essentially you ended up with an EP plus the score. And so when they came up with the song track, it was very similar to what they did here. So the song track was 99, but again, another fantastic collection of songs. Beetle Brad on the stereo thing, the German thing. No, it was the whole LP, and it was the masters. Cool. Jelly Toasted said, I love the score. For Yellow Submarine, completely agree. George Martin's work on it was fantastic. It's fun to listen to. For me personally, and I think I could speak on behalf of a lot of fans though, if you want to listen to the records in the order in which they were released, it's funny to get a whole side of orchestral arrangements that aren't the Beatles under the Beatles name, if that makes sense. That's my only thing with it. Mike Stewart, Jeff Emmerich's coming to Abbey Road on the River this spring. He was there for it all. That's fantastic, and I'm not too far away from Louisville. Is it still in Louisville? From Louisville, Kentucky, where Abbey Road on the River is. I might have to run over there and check that out. Jeff Emmerich's book, Here, There, and Everywhere, on my shelf. Fantastic read. If you talk to some of the hardcore fans, they're going to take issue with a lot of what Emmerich says. I won't go into it further than that. You can get on the Steve Hoffman forums, you can get on Beatles Bible forums, and kind of get a pro-con view of Emmerich's work, and then decide for yourself. I love it. I respect the fact that he was there, that he's the only one there in a lot of cases to tell some of these stories. And you got to take it for what it's worth, because we don't have anybody else saying, hey, no, actually, Jeff's wrong. Here's what happened. But I understand some of the pull, some of the back and forth. Mike Stewart says, the festival, Ever Goat on the River, is across the river from Louisville, so it's there in Indiana. Great. All right, so I'm going to dig back into some of this stuff a little bit more, since it is the birthday album. Let me turn off the chat real quick, just because it's, let's see, hide all chat messages. There you go. Sorry, when I'm holding it like this and then the chat pops up, I can't see what I'm pointing at, but I do have my laptop here, so hi. I can see what's going on down there. All right, here's something else cool about this album, the original pressing, and here in a minute I'll go pull out my 87 copy and see what the 87 CD version looked like. It was nothing like this. So my individual copy, by the way, it's got somebody's name right there that I can't see there, but then when I open it up, it is Mary Jean Mika? Anybody? So, Mary Jean, I don't know why you got rid of your copy. I hope it wasn't stolen. I hope it wasn't left in the attic when your parents moved and you're still crying over it today. But I've taken good care of it. This is really great condition. We'll look at the vinyl here in a little bit. The vinyl itself is in great condition too. So, liner notes, there's inside stuff. You've probably seen that before. That also appears on the 87 CD. I haven't looked at the remaster CD. There's what we got as far as the liner notes go. We got capital and EMI representing right there. Some of that's not going to be in focus. My apologies. And then you've got this, which acts as kind of a surrogate movie poster. It's very clear that at the time, this was promoting the movie. This was in lockstep with the movie, more so than, let's say, the promo material for Sgt. Pepper, where they were really pushing the album, the concept of the album. This is more like, hey, we did a film, and here's the soundtrack for it, and all these awesome songs from 67, the singles from 67. So it's got this 24-page color booklet, which is nice to have in an album. Again, it's not just, the gatefold where you've got the vinyl in here and then something on the back, and that's it. So it's got 24 pages. We'll flip through this. Copyright 67, NIMS Enterprises. Fun to see NIMS still there. But yeah, there's the credits. Nothing fancy there. Not a lot of Beatles content, honestly. There they are. Taking a bus ride. Sorry about the glare. You guys have probably seen these photos before. I'm sure they're mostly online. We got the Wizards. Got a really nice shot from the walrus sequence there. Got the policeman on the wall. So another photo here. This, though, I've always found interesting, and somebody will have to tell me if this exists anywhere else, because I haven't seen these drawings as part of the canon. I'll read some of this to you. Let's see, first shot. So it says the story of Magical Mystery Tour. It's almost like comic book style, graphic novel style. It's got Aunt Jessie there. Roll up, sir. Part 1. Ringo and Auntie Jessie are always quarreling about one thing or another, but they both agree it would be exciting to go on a mystery tour. Your Uncle Jack always liked a Charabanc trip, said Auntie Jessie, and this is a magic trip, adds Ringo. So it goes on, continued on page 9, that says. So another shot, actually cool fisheye lens shot of everybody out to lunch. I'll spare you. Won't read everything to you. You can check out the art here. It's kind of cool. Beetle Brad says, this book has Paul is dead, We're talking about the Your Mother Should Know and the Carnation? Talking about something else. Another good shot of the guys there. Again, these photos are all over the place. They're in the Beatles anthology book, but it's fun to kind of step back in time and go, okay, 67, when this came out exactly 50 years ago today, this didn't exist anywhere else. You couldn't just get these photos elsewhere. Some more of the story. George and John at the cabaret. Fish and chips lunch. There is a great video out here. Is it on Sgt. Pepper's channel or maybe the Beatles Story channel? Go check those out. And it's footage showing the guys eating fish and chips. Like, you can tell they're taking a break from filming and they go to the fish and chip shop. It's footage I hadn't seen before. I don't know exactly where it came from or what the history is. There's John's dream. Funky stuff going on. Is this the Paula's Dead clue you were waiting for? Jelly Toasted, HD Beatles, the fish and chip video. Thank you. I knew it was one of those guys. Beetle Brad, Paula's Dead clues. Yes, and more on that LP. So yeah. If you're into the Paula's Dead thing, cool. That's not my cup of tea. I find it interesting. It's just kind of funny, the quirks and the inconsistencies that people found. For instance, this being one of them. You've got John, George, and Ringo all wearing colorful flowers. Then you've got Paul with a black carnation, which signifies his death. Again, not my thing, but I can appreciate it. So we get towards the end, got a nice cast photo. And the words and all the show songs, Magical Mystery Tour. So we've got the lyrics here. Not flying, of course. And what is interesting to me, though, is that it doesn't include the lyrics for Hello, Goodbye, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, and so forth. It's also important to point out here that the lyrics for I'm the Walrus, it does say Goo Goo Gajoob. How many times, especially as us serious Beatle fans, know? I mean, a lot of people know the song, right? But Cuckoo Kachoo, I think is what I thought it was when I was younger. And to see it kind of written out like that, memes and forms. Goo Goo Gajoob. All right, we're going to pull out the vinyl here. So we've got the sleeve, nothing fancy going on there. And so I did my homework. Discogs, Discogs, is a fantastic website if you're into vinyl or if you're into just learning a little bit more about the vinyl that you've got. But you can, the way that I found out that mine was an original 67 pressing was, for instance, right here. It says manufactured by Capitol Records, Inc., USA, trademark, so forth and so on. There's a slight variation on that. I guess Capitol changed the standard in the way that they did their labels between 67 and the reissue, the second pressing, in 69. And so the 69 one has something different there. But yeah, my label number 2835-A7. It's got that there in the run out groove. But yeah, you can probably tell it's in good shape. Was in good shape till I dropped it. Come on now. Yeah, 50 years old, still trucking along. And I would play it for you, but A, you already know all these songs anyway, and B, I don't want a copyright violation. Had enough of those over the years. I'm trying to play ball, I'm trying to do it the right way. Both Hey Bulldog and then something else, I can't remember what it was in the Purdy video, but a couple of people in the comments were like, why don't you play the whole song? Because Apple would put a copyright claim on it and potentially take the entire video down. So you can only play a few seconds. I'm not sure if you guys know much about fair use and the way that stuff works. But yeah, it's kind of a legal gray area. There's nothing really defining, hey, you can only use up to 5 seconds or 10 seconds. There's nothing that says that. It has to do with how much you're using in the context of everything. So for instance, if you're doing a video on Hey Bulldog and my video was only 1 minute, well, I probably don't need to play 45 seconds of Hey Bulldog. But on the 12-minute video that I did, I probably had a total of, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds from the song that was actually used in the clip. So that's why you were able to do fair use. Anyway, back to Magical Mystery Tour. There's nothing really on the back. I think I failed to point that out. Cool little kaleidoscopy looking thing. But yeah, that's it. That's out of my collection. Happy birthday, Magical Mystery Tour. LP, EP coming soon. I personally would love a copy of the EP, the British EP. That'd be fun to have at some point. But, you know, priorities, life, kids, all that stuff. Love how you hold about edges. Yeah, except when I drop it, right? Yeah, it is. It's very clean. Thank you. Clean is a good word. Silver Toes. Oh, you got caught by the spam filter. I'm going to go ahead and put it on there just because it's interesting discourse. Paul is Dead Crowd. Mainly a collection of idiots and or trolls. I think the trolls thing is probably very accurate. And maybe trolls is a little harsh. I think a lot of people have a lot of fun with it. Again, kind of going back to the clues, and then the troll part would definitely come in where they kind of taunt people and say, well, but don't you know? And I guess there are a handful of people too, though, that actually believe that it went down. That's what I don't understand. But, you know, it is what it is. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Daniel says, MMT box set comes with the British EP. So is that's not what I was talking about earlier, right? Because this is the Blu-ray box set that came out. Let me see what it says. It came with the Blu-ray and the DVD. And it looks similar in some ways to the British EP. Actually, let's pop in here real quick. So you guys saw this earlier. But if you weren't in here watching the live stream or you missed it, this is the box set that came out a little while ago that has the film. Nice presentation right here with a little ribbon, kind of similar to the Sgt. Pepper box set that came out in May. So this comes with this folder right here. You open it up. It's got the Blu-ray on one side and the DVD on the other, which I let live in here. I've got my Beatles DVDs in another room, but you know, for stuff like this, I ripped these. So if I actually want to sit down and watch Magical Mystery Tour, I'm just watching the digital copy that I ripped from the Blu-ray. Yeah, that's what the Blu-ray looks like. And the DVD, but it also came with this. So let's talk about this for a second because I don't remember this at all. Look at here. Look at here. It's just like the 24-page booklet. High res. The pages aren't as glossy. You know what? Until somebody said something about the box set a little while ago, I totally forgot that this was included, or I didn't forget that I had it, but I totally forgot that this booklet was included. I knew it had something in there. So this is very, very similar to what I just showed you. It's laid out slightly differently. So here are the lyrics, for instance. And again, this doesn't have the lyrics to Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields Forever, and so forth and so on, because this is the film box set. More photos, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so pretty much an accurate reproduction of the original. Aha! Look at here. Look what's in there. How about that EP? So obviously a reproduction, but pretty darn classic reproduction. Pop out the center if you want, 45 style with the adapter. It's got the Parlophone trademark on here, printed in the USA, which is kind of funny. 45 RPM, labeled MMT-B1. So on one side we've got Magical Mystery Tour and Blue Jay Way. Side 2, we've got The Fool on the Hill and Flying. Two Jackmans. Wow. It's a Jackman duel in the chat. Tommy Jackman says, hey, did you see Uncut Magazine's Magical Mystery Tour cover issue from a few months back? Truly fantastic, long article. Might have it as image files if you need it. Thank you, Tommy. I was unaware of that. Uncut Magazine. What is that? I'm not sure if I know that one or not. But that sounds fantastic. Let me see if you, yeah, I'll search for it. If you want to, Tommy, you can shoot me an email. It's the channel name at gmail.com, FabFourArchivist@gmail.com. And yeah, if I don't have it, I'd love to have your contact info and maybe just get like the issue number from you or something like that. I might actually buy a hard copy because I'm into really deep kind of scholarly articles. I had somebody the other day. So if you watch the other channels on the video, namely the Purdy video and the Hey Bulldog video, I mean, they're kind of long, and they're kind of long on purpose. There are plenty of people who are making quick little hits, like perfect for Instagram stories, perfect for Facebook sharing, all that stuff, perfect for maybe even watching on mobile phone. I really like doing these kind of mini documentaries. I want to take a deep dive. I want to do the research. Somebody mentioned Lewison here in the chat a second ago. We'll talk about him in a minute. And you know, the research that goes into doing this stuff the right way and learning something new, or maybe not even like learning new facts, but assembling new facts or assembling facts in a way that hasn't been done before. That's really what I'm into. So when we talk about Lewis, and when we talk about just kind of the future of this channel, both of those, like I like the deep dive. I like that stuff. So that's where I want to go a little bit more often with all this. And if Uncut goes there fairly often, yeah. British Magazine, nice, thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely check it out. All right, y'all. Well, I think I'm about winding down. Started streaming 42 minutes ago. Is this kind of longer than some of my other videos, right? Live streams are different though, especially if you were on the last live stream. I think we did about the same length, and we just talked about the channel. We talked about the Hey Bulldog video and same kind of thing. And I'll leave this video up here on the channel, so if somebody wants to watch it in the future, they can. But obviously, if you're watching this in the future, you're probably wondering what's up with all the references. There is a chat room if you're unfamiliar, so that's what's been going on here. In the future, what I'll try to do is schedule the live stream and then jump into it so you can get a notification when I go live. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you click that little bell next to it to get that if you're into that kind of thing. I don't really do these regularly. I think this is the third one since May or June, but I want to do them fairly often. I don't know if I'll like say, hey, every Monday night at 8:30. I don't know if I'm doing that necessarily, but if there's something to talk about, so for instance, the 50th anniversary of Magical Mystery Tour, this was a really good one to jump in on. Henry the Horse, no more 50th anniversary albums until the White Album. Wow, that's really scary to think about. Not scary is the wrong word, but it's interesting to think about because it seems like it was just yesterday that we were talking about 50 years since Sullivan. And I mean, obviously that would have been 64, so 2014. But the way that this time for me has flown from 2014 to getting ready to become 2018 is fascinating because for me, it's gone by just like that. But when I go back in time and I'm digging into the Beatles stuff, it just feels like the Beatles existed for such a long period of time, and their transition from 64 Beatles to 68 Beatles took like 16 years, 4 times as long, not just 4 years for them to actually make that transition, and with all the work that was done in between. So I think it's just a testament to the time, the era, but obviously those guys and what they were doing and the way that they didn't mind to push the envelope and keep on moving and grooving and all that stuff. It's just interesting. Alrighty, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much for jumping in, and if you aren't subscribed to this channel, please go do so. Again, youtube.com/FabFourArchivist, and you can click on subscribe, and there's a little bell thing next to it if you want to get the notifications. If you don't, that's cool too. I'm personally subscribed to about 30 channels, and I don't have notifications turned on for most of them, but the ones that I really like and that I really kind of want to be in on the comments, because the comments on any of these videos, it's the first people. So like the first day's worth of commenters really kind of set the tone for the rest of the conversation. So I really like kind of being a part of that for channels that I'm really into, whether it's music stuff or Again, I mentioned kind of Vox earlier. Sometimes the comments are great there. Sometimes YouTube's comments are a cesspool, and I really don't want my channel to become like that. The Bernard Purdy stuff got a little dicey at times, and I let it go. I didn't filter anything. YouTube filtered out a couple of things, but I didn't. But I'd really like everything to just stay classy and stay kind of, hey, here's my experience, or here's my opinion, instead of you suck, or whatever was going on from time to time in that. So just a heads up for going forward. Not that anybody actually taking the time to watch a live stream would be those kinds of people. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks again for subscribing to this channel. Obviously, I'm hugely passionate about the Beatles, and I'm assuming that if you're watching this live stream, you are as well. So thanks for coming along on the ride with me, and we'll see you all next time.